Close your eyes and imagine the taste of tamarind. Now tell me, what flavor came to mind? If you thought of a tangy bite with natural sweetness, congratulations, you remember real tamarind. If you thought of something spicy and sugary, well, welcome to a world where flavor is no longer what it used to be. This isn't an episode about food. It's about perception, simulation, and how we've learned to accept versions of reality that bear no resemblance to what they should be. Because what happens when the lie tastes better than the truth? Today on 277 Broadcast, we're diving into how marketing has convinced us that the fake is more real than the authentic. Why tamarind tastes like chili, coconut tastes like perfume, and banana tastes like a fruit that no longer exists. But this goes beyond food. Because if we unquestioningly accept that something tastes a certain way just because we were told so, how many other things have we accepted as truth without ever questioning them? We live in an era of simulations, but they didn't begin with video games or virtual reality. They started on our taste buds. Look at tamarind. In its natural state, it has a complex flavor, tangy, sweet, with a slight bitterness depending on its ripeness. But ask most people what tamarind tastes like, and they'll tell you something completely different. Sweet, spicy, an explosion of intense flavors. Why? Because the industry has created an artificially amplified version of that taste. We've been programmed to recognize a hyper-stimulated interpretation, and now we struggle to distinguish the real from the manufactured. But this isn't just about tamarind. Coconut doesn't taste like coconut. The coconut flavor we know is a lab-engineered exaggeration. The banana in candy doesn't even resemble the bananas we eat today. It's based on an extinct variety. Grape soda, it tastes nothing like actual grapes. Which brings us to a troubling question. If we've learned to accept counterfeits as the norm in something as basic as taste, what else have we been tricked into believing without realizing it? This isn't just about food. It's a metaphor for how human perception can be manipulated. It happens with flavors, but also with art, with music, with history, with the way we interpret reality. We're sold simplified, exaggerated, or outright false versions of things, and over time we prefer them over the truth. Think about it. What feels more real to most people? A Van Gogh painting or its print on a souvenir coffee mug? What is more history to the masses? The events that actually happened or the edited version we were taught in school? What feels more like love? A real relationship with ups and downs or the romanticized stories in movies? The simulation wins because it's more accessible, more intense, easier to digest. But the problem is that when taken to the extreme, we risk forgetting what reality even looks like. Now let's take this idea one step further. If we've learned to accept fake flavors as real, what happens when artificial intelligence starts designing our experiences? AI is already composing music, writing books, generating images. Algorithms already predict what we'll like before we even know it. And soon, AI will be designing food that won't just taste good. It'll taste better than we thought possible. But there's a problem. Taste memory and emotional memory are fragile. Neurologically, if we stop tasting something for long enough, we forget it. Or worse, we remember it incorrectly. The same happens with emotions. Example, if we've only ever had artificial vanilla, it seems normal. If an entire generation grows up with entertainment designed by AI, that becomes their standard for creativity. If we only experience love through interactions mediated by algorithms, then that will be the new reality of love. In the end, the question isn't whether AI can do this. It's what happens when we get used to AI's version of reality. Here's where this connects to something even deeper: video games and hyperreality. If we can accept an artificial flavor as real, we can accept a simulated life as real too. Think about games like GTA 5. It's not just a game, it's a life simulator where you can be a cop, a taxi driver, a criminal, a mechanic. And what's fascinating is that people don't use these spaces to do the impossible. They use them to replicate everyday life with absurd precision. Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is sitting at home, inside a game, issuing traffic tickets as a virtual cop, instead of doing it in real life. Why? Because in the simulation there's no risk, no failure, no consequences. It's a distorted mirror, but a safe one. And here's the more unsettling question. What stops us from continuing down this path until we stop living reality altogether? If all of this is true, then what's left for us? Maybe we can't stop the simulation from advancing, but there's still one thing that separates humans from machines: art. Because true art isn't optimized, isn't functional, isn't mass commercialized without losing something in the process. Art is the last frontier of what makes us human. If we accept a life of simulations and amplified versions of reality, we'll eventually become purely practical. And here's the paradox. A society that eliminates suffering and risk also eliminates the only real reason to create. If art disappears, then so does our humanity. The question is, are we willing to pay that price? If this idea made you think, subscribe to 277 Broadcast. Share this episode with someone who still believes strawberry-flavored candy tastes like real strawberries. And remember, the future is already here, and it doesn't taste like what you expected.